How many of you have had a dolphin interaction in your life? So you know. It is estimated that dolphins have been on this earth for 95 million years. Humans and dolphins have strikingly similar DNA. Dolphins' brains are much larger than ours, and we are just beginning to learn they are also much more advanced. Dolphins can hear sounds 6 octaves above our hearing range, and they use sonar and echolocation, different sounds and clicks, to produce a kind of X-ray vision. You may have heard about dolphins, clicking around pregnant women and going crazy with joy for the, newborn that's coming alive in there without the mom even knowing until later. Dolphins have this ability to see through matter with their hearing. These marine mammals are our distant cousins, and they share many similarities with us, and archaeologists believe they once walked the land. The Chumash people tell this story of how long, long ago, once upon a time before the time like we know it today, a time before cell phones and faxes and sound bites, a time before the internet, when the masters communicated that way anyway, just without Zoom. During that time, the people lived on an island called Lamu. And the earth goddess beckoned them. She asked them to come to the mainland and created a rainbow bridge for them to walk across. And she warned them, don't look down. But some people couldn't help it. And when they did, they lost their balance and fell into the deep blue sea, becoming dolphins. The ones that crossed the rainbow bridge began their life on the land, but their ties remained strong always between the humans in the sea and the humans on the land. There are countless myths, legends, and stories about this connection between humans and dolphins. And they're found in most cultures and in every continent on this earth. When I visited Ephesus, Turkey, many years ago, I saw an ancient sculpture from Babylonian times of a goddess-looking woman and the ecstasy of her being with and riding on a dolphin. In her recent book, Dolphin Wisdom for a New World, Adina Tryon calls the mystical dolphin consciousness Stella Maris, starlight of the sea. I like to call them the angels of the sea because the word angel means light messenger. And that is what they have been to me. My father likes to tell the story that when I was a toddler and he took me to Florida for the first time from Buffalo, and my brother was crying and screaming because of the sound of the waves, but I just walked over and said, home. I have always felt this affinity to the ocean. And so it was no surprise to my friends that one of my first spiritual teachers was a dolphin named Sugar. They used to tease me if they could no longer find me, they could decide that I was just off at the fins of my master. Sugar was a dolphin that was caught before the Dolphin Protection Act and held in captivity, I later discovered by her own choosing, at a place called Sugarloaf Lodge in the Keys. She was one of the oldest dolphins when she died ever to live to her age in captivity. Actually, at one point, they tried to teach her to go back to the wild, but she just kept coming back and told me telepathically that this was her mission, to teach people like me. She was my first teacher about telepathy. I always knew that I could kind of read people, that I was empathic, that I knew things I shouldn't have known. And especially for my age, my parents were always saying I was an old soul. But I really believe I came in with this ability to read what people were thinking and feeling. And Sugar she just helped me with that. One day, I was just sitting there with my feet in her bay and heard the words as loud as if you were saying it, "Tickle my nose with a palm frond." And I thought, well, that's interesting. I think she just sent me that message, because she was going by with her dolphin eye as she said it. Dolphins have this amazing, huge eye, and they just like look into your soul. And so she was going by me as she said this and just like telegraphed it to me. So I thought, what the heck? Went over and got a palm frond, and the trainer was looking at me very closely because he was afraid I would hurt her, but very gently, I just touched her nose with the palm frond, and she went crazy, slapped her tail and jumped for joy. And he's like, I guess she got the message. And we both laughed. And that was how my training began. Sugar would come to me in dreams. She sent me all kinds of messages. One time, I woke up in the middle of the night. We had stayed, my husband and I, at Sugarloaf Lodge. And I had this horrifying dream of a Doberman pinscher trying to get me. And I woke up screaming, the Doberman pinschers, they're going to get us. And my husband, being the loving and patient person that he was, knowing how vivid I can dream, said, "It's okay, sweetheart. We're on the second floor." But I remembered the dream because he said that to me, and I woke up. I thought, well, that's weird. And then the next day, I saw that Doberman pinscher. It was the trainer's new dog. And I said to him, "Is Sugar afraid of that dog?" And he said, "Yeah. In fact, the dog's so jealous of my attention and bond with Sugar that he jumped in and bit her." So I got that in a dream. And then I trusted after that things could come to me in dreams. In many ways, Sugar prepared me for every other spiritual teacher I've ever had, because I was young and I was open to this dolphin consciousness experience. And I wouldn't have been by a person. I was so resistant to my teacher, Ma Yogashakti Saraswati, we call her Mataji. I did not want a guru, did not want somebody in orange robes, didn't. The only way she could come to me was in dreams, until I just surrendered. And I kept having this dream. And it was after seeing her picture. I'd never met her. But even though I loved yoga and I loved chanting and I loved Sanskrit, I didn't want a spiritual teacher of another religious tradition. I didn't. And I didn't want any spiritual teacher really in human form, because I had been studying the world's religions since I was a teenager. And I didn't like what I saw in the organizations of the world's religions, not in the teachings. The teachings were one for me. I had a book called The World Bibles when I was very young, and I knew they were all saying the same thing. Why couldn't they get along? Why did they have to oil the machine called religion in order? What? To dumb us down? To keep us stuck? So Mataji had quite a ways to go for me to trust her. And after relentlessly coming to me in dreams and throwing me rainbow-colored energy and telling me I was late, I had to meditate, I had to sit down, I had to be still and know God, I finally went to meet her. And she said to me, without me ever telling her about the dreams, "Oh, by the way, about your dreams, you could never be late for anything because you're always on God's time." So Sugar paved the way for me to advance in my spiritual development, not in the way I wanted it, but in the way that I finally surrendered to it. Sugar taught me also to develop my capacity to send and receive information through prayers, through intention, through group consciousness, and through collective dreams. As I look back on it now, she really prepared me in such a fun way. That so much that transpires in this life is beyond which we see that appears to the physical eye. The Hawaiian word for dolphins is naya, which translates into the energy of pure love. To me, this is their essence. When I'm with them, I feel waves of divine contentment. I feel that they soften me. I have a dolphin smile. I start looking at the world sideways with one eye and laugh more and feel more fully alive. One time, my friend Bob and I went to swim with dolphins in the Keys at a place that was a dolphin training school. And I love this story because it just, for me, it just depicts that scripture, when I am lifted up, all will be lifted onto me. So we swam with dolphins and we were all about, the consciousness of bliss that we were in. We were just so happy. And we were driving back to where we lived and decided to stop in Isla Morada at the Marriott Beach Resort Hotel before going through Miami. And we went to the restaurant and we sat down and we were joking. He said, "Do you want a glass of wine?" And I said, I think it would be redundant. I already feel drunk. We knew that we were just in a very different state of mind. And it was a pretty full restaurant. And this has never happened to me before, and it has never happened to me again. But I believe it was the magnetism of dolphin consciousness that did this for us. The chef came out. He looked around the restaurant and he looked right at us, giggling and laughing and feeling so alive. And he walked over. He could have chosen anyone in that restaurant, but he chose us. And he said hi, and he introduced himself and told us he was fairly new to the restaurant and said, I'm trying to come up with some new signature dishes. Would you be my guest tonight and try out some of my new seafood dishes? It's on us. And I really believe that it was the state of consciousness that attracted him to us. And I bless dolphins for that. In the 1980s, I was leading a transformational group at Unity of the Palm Beaches. And we wanted to expand our skills. And we wondered if we could call dolphins to us. We had watched a movie where a young girl sat on the edge of the ocean and called the whales to her. It was a documentary on this young whale whisperer. Do you remember? Some of you are nodding. And people asked her how she did it. And she said she got very still in meditation and went to the place where whales and people are one. So we figured we could give this a try and maybe sugar would help us. So we we're meditating every week together, and it was a group process group where we were talking about our spiritual development and our emotional intelligence and trying to evolve ourselves spiritually and emotionally as humans. And so every week we would take a moment to ask Sugar and go to that place where dolphins and humans are one and ask to have an experience of swimming with wild dolphins. It didn't come right away, but we kept at it. We set the intention, we prayed, we meditated, and we waited. It took a while, but one day, one of our group members, Michael, out of the clear blue, simply said, Key West, and a date and a time. I don't remember exactly what they were. Sometime like in June in the afternoon. And so we just went with it. He had never had that experience before of having anything specific like that come to him in meditation. We thought, okay, this is a divine experiment. Let's do it. So we prayed about how to get a boat captain in a boat. We went through Unity of the Keys to get our boat captain. He was very hesitant to take a group of people who were intent on swimming with dolphins out in the ocean. He didn't even think that was right to bother the dolphins. But we convinced him that we were not going to do anything to harm dolphins, that we would just want to connect with them. And if they wanted to connect with us, we would just be with them. We wouldn't touch them. We wouldn't interfere with their foraging for food. We wouldn't do anything to harm them anyway. So he consented to take us out on that day. At that time, dolphins surrounded our boat. And there was no one more surprised than us and our boat captain. You know, every time you have an experience like that, isn't it just like, that's real, you know, like that happened. And what was so interesting about the experience is that the only one in the water at the time was the one who was really sick and needed it the most. And every one of us had a different experience. And it was what we each needed at that time in our lives. 4 years ago, I got to tick something off my bucket list. I went to Bimini, the closest island to Florida, the most incredible turquoise water, where a group of people have been swimming with the same super pod of dolphins for decades. They came from Czechoslovakia, they met at a yoga ashram in India, and they started this organization called Wild Quest. And they teach you about dolphins, and you live together for a week, and you go out every day, and they call the dolphins, and you get to swim with them in the wild. It was the most amazing experience. And one of the things that happened for me was after all these years of studying dolphin consciousness, I really wanted to know. I had it in my heart. I had a question, really deep. Like, how do you do it? How do you communicate so far, like sometimes miles away, and yet individually, but also you seem to be able to synchronize your movements? Like, how do you do it? I just wanted to know, like, can you help me just understand how you communicate? I just really had this burning question. And then one night I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw in holographic pictures, like you see on your credit cards, those holograms, right? I saw them all over my room exactly as the day had been in holograms. I momentarily thought I was losing my mind, closed my eyes and opened my eyes again. It was still there. And I remember telling a friend, I had this like experience of holograms. And I wonder if that's how dolphins communicate. It's kind of weird, isn't it? And she's like, you came here for this experience. Quit calling it weird. But it was so otherworldly. And thanks to Matt, my new friend here, part of our congregation on Zoom today, I was able to get a piece of research that he had read that actually says that dolphins communicate through holograms. And here's what the researchers have found. Researchers in the UK and the US have discovered that the clicking sounds and the high vibrational frequencies that dolphins use for echolocation actually form holographic images. With the use of cutting-edge technologies such as CymaScope and 3D print technology, the scientists believe they've been able to see for the first time what dolphins see. Researchers have proven over and over again that these clicking sounds, these sounds our human ear can't really hear, form reproducible holographic pictures that the researchers suggest is the basis of dolphin language. There's so much more I can tell you, and I realize that I have many dolphin talks, and I'm trying to put them all into one, but I'll summarize it with a bit of advice from dolphins. And one thing I do want to tell you, and I think I've already shared it with Terry, is that dolphins have immense compassion. If a dolphin sees one of their own alone inside a tuna net, they will try to get in the net and get them out. But if they can't, they will stay in there with them. This has been filmed over and over again. And many of them will surround the net and they will sing the signature sounds to that dolphin, because every single dolphin has a unique sound, like their thumbprint. They will sing the sound until they die. So, advice from a dolphin: have a playful spirit, be curious, enjoy creating new games. One of the moments I had in Bimini was a dolphin went down, put like this cone, like a piece of a crustacean on its nose, and put algae around its head and came up and went blah, to make me laugh. Enjoy creating new games. Find others that you really click with. Glide through the day with ease and grace, and take naps. Dolphins actually nap 3 or 4 times a day and rest half of their brains while they do this. I think it's a good practice. Maybe we should try it. Meditate, rest half of our brain. Remember to breathe together. Leap for joy. Find your life's purpose in loving, caring, and serving others. Never let anyone die alone or afraid. Sing a familiar tune when you're scared. Learn the sounds that resonate with those you love. Dive deep and jump high. Every day is a new adventure.